And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
It's hard to keep up with Fantasy Flight and their expansions sometimes. I'm always a little bit behind. I'm just now getting to Under the Pyramids. This is, I believe, the second big box expansion for Eldritch Horror, and I believe it is the 5th expansion overall, or the 4th. I'm losing track. Now, I have sometimes said, oh, there's too many Egyptian-themed games. I do not think that when it comes to horror or to adventure. Cthulhu is Cthulhu, right? Cthulhu shows up, blah, 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 whatever. Egyptian horror, mummies and stuff, that's cool. There needs to be more of that and less zombies and such. So I was really pleased with this one, and I was hoping it would bring that Egyptian flair. It's still Cthulhu. I mean, this is a pyramid with Cthulhu tentacles coming out. But this, as it did in the other expansion, Mountains of Madness, adds more stuff to the game. Lots more stuff. But if you want more stuff, you can get the small expansions, and that's fine, more stuff. But this also adds an extra board that you can go to. Let's take a look. Okay, so first we have another monster, Abhoth. This guy is, ooze, whatever. He comes with a bunch of cultists, right? And he's like a writhing mass of goo. So, all right, I mean, it's another monster. He's cool, but I used the other one more than this one. There's also some new characters, so I'm always glad to have more characters. It's just fun to have different characters to pick from. Several of these characters, I think almost all of them, I've seen before in different versions of Arkham Horror and such. Rex Murphy. My favorite ones, I really like Monterey Jack, who can discard an artifact to retreat Doom by 1. Or the top card and do an extra action. I don't know, he's like Indiana Jones, essentially. I like that there's someone like that in the game. Mandy Thompson is really cool because she gets more clues out on the board, so that's a useful ability. Joe Diamond, who's possibly my favorite character from Arkham Horror. I like him because he can get more things from piles, more stuff, and also he can improve his skills twice. And then Hank Sampson, who is possibly my favorite character in the game. He's extremely strong comparatively, but he's not very smart, right? But it doesn't matter if he's smart because he doesn't worry. He's not that scared by monsters. And he can beat monsters pretty much without any sort of weapon. Kind of a nice guy to have in a fight. So then there's, all different sorts of cards for these monsters, and there's more of the same cards. More cards to add to the pile. This is one of the reasons I always want to get more expansions, is to have more cards. But there's some pretty cool ones. I thought I'd mention a few in particular. There's some new conditions. So we have here Haunted, Diseased, and Despair. None of them sound very pleasant. Most of the conditions in Eldritch Horror are not. Haunted is, I find, extremely intrigued because you actually will have ghosts that will come and haunt you. This one's a visiting specter, different kinds of ghosts. Diseased and Despair are about as bad as you might think. Then there's also some new spells. We have Rack and Shroud of Shadow and Forced Learning. I like Forced Learning, where you can improve your skill twice, Enchanting Grace, enchant weapons. I do like this one here. Monsters you encounter lose physical resistance. Some of the monsters in this set are resistant to physicals. They might take half damage. You can get rid of them. But there's also some unique assets in this set, or in this game, and I really like these. This is a kind of a cool thing. These are very similar to the spells and conditions, where I might have, here's Know Thine Enemy, Mysterious Idol, Fossilite Sample, here's a jar or a treasure map, and when you go and find these things, when you accomplish whatever it says here, like here's a random clue, you then go find the treasure and see what happens, which is neat. Or here's a jar. When you do a rest action, you can basically, flip the jar, and find out what's in the jar. And so there are different items that lead to other things, and that's always really good for storytelling. The game also comes with these prelude cards, and this is not the only expansion to have prelude cards in it. But the prelude cards are what you draw one before the game, and it will do different things. And I think these are kind of ways to modify your game. I would always pick them instead of randomly picking one. But one of the prelude cards is going to bring, the one that's under the pyramids, is going to bring a whole new board into play. Or if you fight the other main bad guy in this set, Nephron Ka, who looks like some massive, nasty pharaoh type thing here, they're going to bring another whole board into play. Now this is a separate board. This is one of the expansions that adds this board. And this board is only in play if this monster or that prelude comes into effect. Now this board tells you where on the main board it connects to. Some of the connections that you'll see here are called local paths. A local path just simply means that you are directly adjacent to those. So you can go from the pyramids to Alexandria without taking an action. And so when you bring these out on the board, there's a whole new decks for each of these. There's the red ones here for Alexandria, the Bent Pyramid in Cairo, and we got brown cards for the Nile River, Tel El Amarna, and the Sahara Desert. Each of these has different things. They're great ways to find things. Here you get clues, artifacts, relics, and unique assets, get glamour spells, and these are really like mummy in style. There's all sorts of mummies and Egyptians and pyramids, think of that kind of movies, and that brings these things to the point where like you will even run into the Beast, which I'm really glad I actually have the Fantasy Flight model for this. This does not come with the game, but I've been wanting to use this one for a while because it's kind of creepy and nasty, and you actually will fight this guy possibly when you're going up against Nephron Ka. And so I really like this. This adds an Egyptian flair. There's also some of these cards that will be included where there's museum heists and things. These is where you can accomplish these in a specific order and have various good or bad things happen to you. It's like another set of cards to go through. There's other stuff in this expansion too. There's these little tokens here which you can lose. Your stats can go down based on things that happen, because it wouldn't be an Eldritch Horror game if they weren't slapping you across the face every once in a while. I really like this one. This is one of my favorite expansions. But see, I don't necessarily, when I play Eldritch Horror, I don't sit there and go, ooh, let's see what randomly happens. So I'll be like, hey, let's go to Egypt. Sure, this board only shows up with that one monster and or prelude card. But that's fine, because you can say, hey, let's play Eldritch Horror in Egypt today. You don't need to have these boards all over the place. They're not everywhere. You're just using the one board for this scenario, and I like it. I really like the Egyptian flair, that whole, you're in the pyramids, and you see pharaohs doing this, and there's skeletons here, and there's big giant, the Sphinx comes to life. It was actually a monster all along. I like that sort of thing. It's cool. I'm not the biggest fan of Cthulhu, right? But I love Eldritch Horror, the Adventure, and I think the Adventure's here. Also, some of my favorite characters of the game are in this expansion, so I think this one is probably my favorite so far. Love the adventure this one adds. The other monster, old Blobular, or whatever his name is, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad that there's two big monsters to fight, but man, if you want Egyptian in your Cthulhu, this is the expansion to get. Cool. Although I will say at this point in time, before I end this video, at this point I have all my Cthulhu's, my Eldritch Horror stuff is somewhere up on the shelves here, right here. It's all barely fitting in one box. That's not going to happen anymore. With this and the other big box expansion, I'm going to need to keep everything in 2 boxes. Here we go again. It's Arkham Horror, come back. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.